into the meditation. Okay, so welcome everyone to another Cosmic Rose Honey session. So as per usual, we will open up our circle with some Q&A. So yeah, let me know what questions you have before we move into our meditation in about 10 minutes. Fella, I know you had a
Okay.
question.
Yeah. So, I had my Kundalini since like a year, 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, a couple of days ago, I had like a new experience. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always have like pranayama, kriyas, but this one was new. Like when I put my head in on bed, like to sleep on my pillow,
Mm-hmm.
then I started to feel the energy up in my head, and it was very intense. And I started to hear buzzing in my ears, and then
Mm-hmm.
like I started to feel myself expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was no more feeling myself limited with this body. I started to
Mm-hmm.
feel myself like something big, and I got scared, and I started to see some shapes, but I got
Mm-hmm.
very, very scared. Like what scary thing I had? I was saying, oh my God, what if dark entities will come to me? Or I said, what if I can't get back into my body? What if I can't like ground myself, feel more grounded again? So this is what
Mm-hmm.
I was scared of. And then everything stopped because I was very resistant. I was tense with my body. I was very resistant, scared until
Mm-hmm.
everything disappeared. And the question that I have now, like, does the possibility of like getting harmed or hurt by the processes through which Kundalini puts us through, like the processes that are triggered by Kundalini, that Kundalini presents to us, can they harm us? Or do
Mm-hmm.
you advise me to, if it happens to me next time, like I will surrender and totally be in total trust and let go? Or maybe I will get harmed by that. Maybe dark entities will approach me or something. This is what I'm scared
Mm-hmm.
of.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. First of all, it sounds like what you are sensing is, again, Kundalini moving up towards the brain. So everything that you are experiencing is actually very, very phenomenal because it's the experience where Shakti starts to meet with Shiva in the brain. So hearing the buzzing, feeling that sense of expansion, where essentially your sense of self is expanding past the bounds of the human body and the human limited sense of self. So, what that begins to move more and more into is an unbounded sense of consciousness that is past the human body. Now, what you described there is also very normal because what has to happen in order for us to fully merge with Shiva, in order for the Kundalini to fully stabilize in the brain, is that full surrender that you were speaking about. So, that full surrender, I actually had that very, very deep and profound experience about a month ago where the energy was really moving up towards the brain and I could feel that breaking point between my finite sense of self merging with the infinite. And one thing that I really felt in that experience is that in order for that integration to happen, we've got to be at the level of surrender and readiness to let it all go. What I felt within myself was that, of course, like, the body is naturally scared because it's moving into a space that it hasn't ever been to before. And also at the same time, the ego can also be very triggered and terrified because it literally means that it has to die in order for that union to happen. But what gets to happen is that when that level of surrender is deepened, when you are willing to say, like, I'm willing to let it all go, even if I die, like in this moment, like I am willing to be reabsorbed back into the source, that's where that shift in consciousness gets to happen. Now, to answer your question, could this process set us up for, dark entities to come in? That would not be the intention of the process, but I could see how that could potentially happen. Again, if somebody was moving about this process and they haven't done very deep, solid shadow work, inner healing, trauma healing, because what's happening when we feel that resistance is still the part of us that is clinging on to our sense of self. What then gets to happen in your ongoing practice is continuously looking at how can I deepen my surrender within my day to day? How can I deepen my devotion to the divine? How can I fully trust and exemplify my surrender? Because when we have that relationship with the divine, it becomes so solid and trusting that you literally know that for sure there's going to be dark energies and entities out there in the sphere, but you're no longer a vibrational match to it because you're very solid in your heart, you're very solid in your body. So when you're moving up against that huge shift in consciousness where there is still a natural level of body fear that can come up because a sense of you has to die in order for you to be reunited with the divine whole, with the self, that no longer becomes so much of a fear of will there be dark entities coming in, because there's that full trust and relationship with the divine. So what I would recommend is that in your ongoing practice, continuously staying connected to however you best have a relationship to the divine, whether it's calling it divine mother, divine father, just source, creator, whatever feels the best for you, or just speaking directly to Kundalini Shakti, but having that relationship with that divine source that is so trusting that you're fully willing and ready to give it all up and let it all go. And if there is still a part of you that is afraid, in the fear around what if I get attacked or what if dark entities come, that is a very powerful gateway to kind of examine what might be the parts that are being triggered right now. Where might there still be a part of me that is afraid of being hurt, that is maybe a shadow part that hasn't yet been fully seen and witnessed, and creating the space to meet with those parts of us. That's why for myself, whenever I teach Kundalini work and really guiding a holistic experience of the Kundalini process, parts healing is really important, because until all parts of us are fully integrated and on board with giving it all up, it's really hard to stabilize the permanent shift in consciousness when Shakti does reach up to the crown and meet with Shiva. Does that make sense? So it's not that the process will create bad things for you, but it's that if there isn't this deepened enough level of surrender, if there isn't harmony through all the parts, there could be the fear that gets triggered that then makes it seem like, okay, there might be dark things coming into hurt me or harm me and things like that. Ultimately, when it comes to entities and things like that, from my level of understanding, is that they work through vibrational matching, right? So if we're doing our trauma healing work, if we're feeling through our discomfort, if we're willing to meet our own inner shadows with love and compassion, we literally cannot become a vibrational match to being attacked by a darker entity. You could still see them, you could still witness them, but what happens is you become a guide that brings them back to light through your embodiment of love. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, so much. But thank you so much. But I have two questions that popped out now into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that I have lost the chance of like the merging between the Shakti and Shiva by me being not surrendering and tense with my body and resistant?
Nope.
Yeah. And the second
let,
question, yeah.
let me answer the
And
first one first, maybe,
yes,
so then
yes,
you
yes,
could.
please. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
so nope, you have not missed the chance. This is a lifelong process, and it's beautiful because I mean, just a year into your process, you're already having these profound consciousness experience. That's absolute beautiful. And wherever you feel yourself not able to surrender yet, that's not wrong. That's not bad. That's not, I'm doing something that's not going to plan. If you're having this experience, that it is happening for a reason, and it's actually just revealing to you where you get to deepen in your surrender. There's no right or wrong about that. It's simply a gauge of, oh, right now there's still a part of me that is not willing to fully let it go. Cool, that's information for me to sit with. Where is that part of me? What is that part of me afraid of? Where does that part live in my body? How can I connect with it? Feel into it, understand what it is afraid of, understand how I can build a relationship with it, and therefore allow it to come on board on this journey of deepening that surrender. So it's not that you have missed the window. You literally have all the days to come in your life to continuously deepen that connection, and there will be more and more windows of time for that to happen.
Thank you so much. It gives me more hope. Thank you. So my
Yes.
second question,
Yeah.
it's second that yeah,
Mhm.
was like, so Kundalini is like a lifelong process. We always have to cleanse and do the cleanse, be triggered and cleanse again. So the question is, how do I know that I have finally reached that level of like cleansing that allows me to totally surrender and never get to meet dark entities? And like I have reached that point where, okay, I can surrender and I want to meet. Okay, you got my question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So I would say that it's kind of one of those answers where, like, when I say it, you might be like, it's kind of one of those, like, when it happens, when it shifts, you know. It's something that happens within your body, within your psyche, that becomes very undeniable. You start to feel your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your reality in a very, very different way. The shift into, Shiva and Shakti coming together, the shift into unity consciousness is one that is so profound that it just completely changes the way that you live your life. It's a very profound shift, but also it's just bringing you back to the most basic sense of realization, which is that I am pure beingness, which is that everything that is around me, from the nature to the people to the animals, that we are all the emanations of the same one. So the realization, that process is very, very profound, but it brings you back to a very basic level of understanding of your pure beingness. And what happens is that still, even after achieving a very high state of consciousness, we're still bound in a human body. We still have a nervous system, which means that you're going to continue having those little triggers, having a moment of sadness, having a moment of fear. But what you're going to start to notice, and it's something that you'll just notice, especially in comparison to perhaps how you have been in the past, you start to see that things move through you in a very fluid way. There's no longer as much resistance to it, the making it wrong, the pushing it away. But when something happens, you allow yourself to soften, surrender, feel, and move through it. And then it just passes, right? It's kind of like imagining yourself on a surfboard in the middle of the ocean, and you're just allowing the waves to carry you up and down, right? It becomes this way of living where you're in harmony with the flow of life. And it's something that it's hard to describe and say, like, these things will happen and then you will know. But it's more so, the more that you connect yourself to your body, the more you're going to know when it happens. And so, yes, it's a lifelong process, but I don't believe that it's a process where you continuously need to like dig up more trauma, dig up more pain, and you have to keep on healing, right? It's also a discernment between, accessing a higher state of consciousness and learning how to continuously integrate and stabilize that while being a human being. And we have to discern between that versus where might we be constantly trying to weed out, what else do I have to heal? What else do I have to purge? It gets to a point where you'll feel that your vessel is more or less quite clear, embodied, and there might still be things that come up like little blips and stuff, but again, even how you approach it is much less, trying to transmute it or change it, but more so allowing that purest essence of your beingness to support you in understanding that that too is just a part of your human experience, right? So there's less resistance, there's less pushing, there's less fixing. And that's really what I sense to be how the Kundalini process stabilizes throughout our lives. Again, you'll continue to feel sadness, pain, grief, all these emotions, but how you respond to it, the level of equanimity that you can have in relationship to the different things that happen in your life, will be a marker that kind of shows you how far along you are in the process. Does that make sense?
So much sense. Thank you so much, Ella. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you so much for these great questions. And again, really celebrating and honoring you in your process. You're doing amazing. And just knowing that it's that continuous softening, that continuous melting. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about this in the melt workshop as well. But part of, you know, surrendering ourselves back to the divine, allowing Shakti to merge with Shiva, allowing our limited self to merge with the capital S self, is learning the practice of melting and softening. And we have so many guards and so many reasons in our body why we don't want to do that. And it's very, very valid. But it's increasingly becoming aware of when we tense, when we resist, when we want to close, and courageously in each of those moments, opening up, softening, and melting a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's better for me to surrender. Next time, I will surrender.
Yes. Yeah. Just surrender to whatever degree feels accessible for you, right? And it makes a lot of sense. Again, it can be very jarring for the body, for the ego to be like, what do you mean I have to die? So
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense that there's like, I'm not letting go.
yeah, especially that
Um,
it's built with the nervous system. I'm scared to become crazy or something. This is what scares
yeah.
me.
So that's where having that relationship with the divine is really important, right? Because when you're in a trusting relationship with someone and they're saying, "Hey, I want to take you to this really amazing magical place," right? Like imagining you're with a friend and your friend's like, "Oh my gosh, let's hike up this mountain because there's the most beautiful view at the very top of the mountain with a gorgeous lake, with a sunset. And you're like, whoa, yes, cool, right? And you'll follow this person because you trust them, right? And even as you go through this hike up the mountain, there are going to be challenging moments, bumpy moments, moments where you might be climbing a rock and then you fall down, you might scrape your knee a little bit. But on this journey, there's no doubt about where you're headed, and there's no doubt about the reward at the very top of the mountain because you trust this person, right? You're like, this is my best friend. My best friend is taking me to a very amazing site. I trust that. But when we don't have that trusting relationship with the source that is guiding us, then that's where the fear can come in. It could be like, what if I go crazy? What if I end up somewhere that I shouldn't be? That happens when there isn't a deepened level of trust with the divine. And that's okay, right? Again, it's another muscle that you get to practice, and looking at how do you soften a little bit at a time in your day to day and build up that relationship of trust.
Thank you so much. I will try. Great advices,
Yes.
really.
Yes. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions before we move into our meditation? Hey, Marsha. Hi, Michelle. We're good? Yes. Hello. No question. Okay, perfect. Amazing. So let's get started then on our meditation. So I'll pin myself. So, again, the Cosmic Rose Honey meditation is a silent meditation where the only thing that you have to do is to practice coming back more and more into your heart, into your body, and softening. So, here we are metaphorically opening ourselves up to the downwards descending pouring of divine honey through our crown. And this is essentially the divine grace of the mother, the grace that is truth, love, peace, and bliss. And as it comes into our crown, it begins to surround our being. It helps to open up our higher brain centers, our heart, and just bring us more and more back into that blissful state of pure beingness. So during the meditation, you just have to close your eyes, soften, relax. Focus on your breath and focus on all the different sensations that you can feel as much as you can, merging and melting and softening to all the different feelings, all the different inklings that you can sense in your body. Cool? All right, so we'll get ourselves nice and comfortable, sitting with a tall spine. If you need to roll out your shoulders a little bit or roll out your neck, let yourself get real relaxed and loosened up. And when you're ready, closing your eyes, turning your attention inwards, taking a deep breath in through the nose, a deep breath out through the nose, allowing all of your awareness to arrive into this moment and into your body. We will begin the meditation for 20 minutes, and I'll let you know when the meditation is over. Taking a deep breath in, deep breath out. Allowing yourself to come back into this time, into this space, slowly rooting back into this very moment. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes.